There we go. Welcome to our August workshop here. We're very excited to have everybody. We've got a lot of familiar faces as well as some new ones here. So let me introduce myself to those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet yet. My name is Josh Mayleaf. I am the president and co-founder of this group, L&D Philly. Thank you for coming tonight. We are going to have a great session. I've had the opportunity to see it in previous experiences and have learned a lot, and it always reminds me of things when I see it again, which is why I'm excited to be here as well. Before we get to the main event, got some things I'd like to cover here. Again, we've got some new friends joining us tonight, and you're all here because you managed to get to our website and register for this event. You'll notice that I have the website up on the screen, sharing it right now, so that, and just as a check, you are all seeing the website, right? Good. Yes. Always good to check those things. Yes. So what you'll see on the website when you jump in, we always have this rotating slide of upcoming events. So it's a good way to see what's going on and what's coming. One thing I want to do is talk about some of our great upcoming events. So if you scroll down, you'll see our next 5 events that are on here. First of all, we have tonight's event. After that, in September, we have 5 things Disney taught me about how to engage learners. This was a sold-out session at the ATD conference back in May that I attended. Our facilitator for the evening is Tanya, and I'm not going to try to butcher or say her last name in fear of butchering it, but she will be presenting all the way from Australia, so it'll be Thursday night for us and Friday morning for her. It's a great way to learn how to prime your learners for an experience so that when they come to your courses, that they have more to expect and they're excited to be there. I was able to use some of it from some of her past presentations to really enhance the experience in some of my classes, and I think it's something everybody here will enjoy. Another opportunity here is we have just opened up our gamification certification for level 1. Monica Cornetti, who is the gamification guru, she's done this for us a couple times before and is going to be coming back at the end of September for a day-long gamification certification. So if that's something where you're looking to enhance some of your design and use gamification or game elements in your courses, definitely something to check out. Then we move into the October, so wow, we're already looking into the fall. It's scary, right? We've got 2 events in October. Stories Your Values Tell You talks about storytelling, but also in context of learning about yourself and your values. And then Unlocking What's Next by Amplifying What Exists with Rick Lozano. It'll be about leadership, and if you see the graphic when it pops up higher on the screen, he also plays guitar during these things. Also a session that I saw him do at the ATD conference, very engaging, very entertaining. Check it out. So especially for those who joined as members, 4 out of 5 of those, the gamification certification is different because it's one of our professional series events. Or actually, I should say 3 out of 4 because one of those is tonight and you're here. But the other 3 events are included with membership. For those of you who joined us just for tonight and registered for the workshop only, thank you. If you decide to become members, again, all of the virtual workshops are included. We do have a note on there. We are working on some in-person events again, including some events that may be joint events with other professional associations in the area. Stay tuned. We are actively trying to come up with something special that will be worthy of, as I've been asking for advice on how to do this, worthy of getting you to put on pants and leave the house. So that is the goal. Those are our upcoming events. I also want to point out that we do post partner and sponsor events. It's hard to keep this as an all-inclusive list because we update it every so often and others do, but it's a community calendar. So if you are looking not only for our stuff, but other events from professional associations in the area that may be beneficial to you, you can come here as a one-stop shop and see what we've got going on. So again, all of this is at ldphilly.com. Again, you are all here to register. You also should be getting our weekly emails with these same events posted in there. So those are our upcoming events. One other thing I want to, or a couple other things I want to point out on here. Next up is we do have a podcast, and our most recent episode dropped today. So after tonight's workshop, if you say to yourself, where can I hear more from Diane Elkins? And you will. Then we have this podcast. You can launch it right from our website, or the direct link is below there. We had a really good conversation. We talked about some of the things in here around instructional design topics, and also got into another topic that Diane is passionate about and speaks on several occasions about accessibility. So I'll mention that again, probably at the end of our conversation. One other feature we have on here is recent workshop recaps. So one of the benefits of being a member is that you can go back through our whole library of previous workshops and watch them. If you miss one and you're not sure if you want to invest an hour watching it, I want to take a moment to introduce our producer for the evening and also L&D Philly volunteer, Vicki McDevitt. Say hi, Vicki. She waved anyway, which if you were looking at the video, fine, but
hello, everyone.
There you go, make it pop up on screen now. So Vicki has also been putting these together. And so in 5 minutes or so, you can get the gist of what one of our sessions was. And then if you want to dig more into the details, as long as you are a member, you can view the entire thing. A couple other things to note on here. We do have our job board. Members, when they are logged in, can post jobs. You don't need us to do it. You log in and you have an option to post. Everybody can view. So if you are looking for a position, good place to come check it out. Again, it's only based on, we don't sell space on it. It's members and friends who want to share jobs. And we're getting some annotation just to show where it is, apparently. Thank you. Let's see, we have our Twitter feed on here for any of you who do the Twitters. That's there. And yes, I know it's not really plural. And then one other thing before we get to our sponsors, because I would like to thank our sponsors. And there's Rick with his guitar. I mentioned that members can access their workshop recordings. So as long as you are logged into the site, clicking on workshop recordings will take you to a place where you can see all of them. And again, I think many of you are members. If you're not and you're considering it, join today. It's only $25, gets you free virtual workshops and discounts off of other things. One that I do want to point out that, it's this one. I think that's it. Or no, this isn't their, oh yes, this is. If you are a member and you're interested, PSPS, which is an HR organization in the area, if you're not familiar with them, no, that isn't the right one, but PSPS is having their big annual event and it is in all of our emails. So I'll just reference that. They're doing a thing, I think it's in October, where it's a big half-day event. And there is big savings. I think it's up to $85 off if you're an L&D Philly member. So your $25 membership can save you $85 off of that event. So something to consider. It's in our full calendar. And again, it's been in all the emails that we send out weekly. So one thing, the reason we're able to keep our membership low and the costs of our programming low is due to our sponsors. So I would like to take a moment and give the sponsors a chance to talk. So we have with us Kyle from Judge Learning Solutions. Judge Learning Solutions is our website sponsor, which means you can find their logo on literally every page on our website. So Kyle, let us know about Judge Learning Solutions here.
Sure, Josh, thank you for the warm introduction. Good evening, everyone. It looks like we have quite a few people throughout the country joining us this evening, which is very exciting. For those of you that are within the immediate Philadelphia area, it was a scorcher today. So I hope you're joining us in the comfort and the coolness of your home or office, wherever you may be. Josh, we couldn't be more proud, more delighted to be able to align with L&D Philly to help support your initiative around these webinars and training sessions. My name is Kyle Allen. I'm an account manager at Judge Learning Solutions. For those who are not familiar with our organization, we've been around for over 3 decades. We are a full service learning solutions provider. We specialize in project-related services, staff-related, training-related staffing, custom learning solutions, instructor-led training, leadership development, enterprise-wide solutions. So for those that are joining us this evening that are working in a corporate setting, we are here as a resource if you are ever faced against skill gaps or bandwidth capacities. we work with over 60 of the Fortune 100 to provide support learning solutions. For those of you that are consultants and are joining us this evening, we have an amazing team of recruiters that are constantly and always looking for top learning talent to be able to connect with our clients. So I'll be happy to drop my information in the chat, Josh, if that's okay. Feel free to reach out anytime. We do offer free consultations with our learning strategists, and we're here as a partner to L&D Philly to help support the community here.
Thank you, Kyle. And Judge has been a great partner, so thank you for that as well. Also, just want to call out to Degreed, who is our email sponsor. You'll see their logo on each and every email that we send out every week with all our events, including they have some links to in those emails to get their skills report. They provide a learning experience platform. So if you're looking for a way to be able to take content from various sources, track it, be able to assign it to your people, they have a great platform to check out. I do not believe we have anybody here from Degreed tonight. If so, or see a hand raised. Sally, was that intentional or?
Yes, it was. I'm also with Judge Learning Solutions. I'm one of our senior instructional designers. Well, I don't have the blue logo or anything going on.
I know,
so.
you threw me.
But I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that we are going to be at the e-learning and technology conference in Chicago. We actually are one of the event sponsors. And so anybody who's going to be at that on the 23rd of August in Chicago, I'll be there. And I'd love to meet with y'all.
Fantastic. If you're going to Chicago, look for Sally. So those are our sponsors. Thank you to both of them. And again, thank you for helping us make the programs affordable for everybody here. So now it is time for the main event. I'm going to stop sharing here so that Diane can get her screen together. And here I do have a little bit of, I actually, funny, Diane, I was going to play this earlier and I think I blew my cue, but I asked what music we should go with here. And then of course it's the wrong, come on, there we go. So it's summer, it's nice. Diane likes Bryan Adams here, so we went with some intro music here. We've got the summer of '69. So I've known Diane for, and I have a furry friend in the room who wanted to say hi to Diane as well. Figures he was, I don't think he likes Bryan Adams, but I have known Diane for years now, and I think I met her originally here. I don't want to yell over Bryan Adams. I think I met Diane originally when I saw this presentation at a conference, and we've discussed there's been additional iterations of that presentation. There were things when I saw this presentation the first time, I was like, I had no idea PowerPoint could do that, as the title would allude to there. And, among other things, Diane has presented this to us, but also things on Storyline. She's done a couple of Storyline boot camps that some of you have attended. She is an e-learning and now accessibility guru, I'm going to say, and founder of e-learning uncovered and artisan e-learning. So in addition to all this PowerPoint stuff, which is phenomenal, she literally wrote the book on Storyline. And actually it was at the Storyline boot camp, she was throwing out some PowerPoint tidbits and people were really interested in that. And I said, well, there might be a good follow-up here. And so this is that follow-up you were all here for. So without further ado, Diane, take it away.
Thank you so much. So we are going to go on a fast-paced ride through some features that are hidden in plain sight. There was I read an article in Forbes about a software company that said that only 20% of their software features were being used by their users. 80% were going unused. Now, maybe they were useless, but maybe it's just people didn't know they were there. So I'm going to share with you 25 things you didn't know PowerPoint could do, and they're going to fall basically into 3 categories. Number 1, how can you improve your visual design? Number 2, how can you be more flexible during a presentation? Because if your slides are linear, it's going to be hard to adjust and adapt. And then so that you have time to make your slides look better and be more flexible, I've got a lot of time savers in here. So most of the tips fall into that category. Vicki was kind enough to put the handout there in chat for you. Step by step is all in here, so you don't have to worry about taking notes. Trust me, you won't be able to keep up unless you're a speed writer. So they're all there for you. This is all for the installed PC version of PowerPoint. If you're on PowerPoint 365, some of these features may not exist. If you're on Mac, most of them exist. They might just be in a different place. If you're still on PowerPoint 2003, I'm sorry, this is not the presentation for you. Might be time to rethink your life choices, really. So we'll jump in with tip number 1. So, oh, look, there's your handout. Isn't that nice? So tip number 1 is to customize the quick access toolbar. I love a good productivity hack. I absolutely love it. And this is one of my favorites to make me more efficient. So the first thing you have to do is find the quick access toolbar if you don't already know about it. Now I have mine customized, so I'm going to move it to where it will be for you. And that is, you have a couple of little tools right here. And you've got a little drop down arrow at the end. Mine's already all the way over here because I have some features. And of course, now the WebEx toolbar is in the way. So let me just move this down. But you're going to go to the right side of that toolbar, and there's going to be a little arrow right here that lets you say show below the ribbon. And that lets you put it here. And what do you do here? You put whatever tool you want. I just talked about 80-20. Well, you've probably all heard the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. Well, I would imagine that 80% of your time is spent using 20% of the features. So why click around on all the tabs when you can have everything you want in one place? So all you need to do is take the feature you want. So let's say I want to do font color, right click, add to quick access toolbar. There it is. Bullets, constantly doing bullets. Well, that's already on there, so I can't add it. I might want to put my shapes drop down menu. Whatever it is, fill color, right click, add to quick access toolbar, outline color, add to quick access toolbar. So whatever you use the most, you can have it right there, always available. You don't have to hunt around for it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so I just realized I don't have my handout up, so I'm going to pull it up on my other screen so I can keep an eye. So that is tip number 1. Tip number 2. How many of you use your hand raise icon? How many of you like keyboard shortcuts? Let me see, give me your hand raise icon if you like keyboard shortcuts. Yes, I love keyboard shortcuts. Well, Word lets you make your own keyboard shortcuts, but PowerPoint doesn't. However, one thing I want you to notice, actually, let me add insert, no. Just trying to decide which one I want to do. Insert picture. Anyway, so one of the things that you can do, I know what's a great example is I'm going to add crop. Add to my quick access toolbar. Okay. If you press the Alt key, you see how everything gets a little black square. Those are keyboard shortcuts. And so if I were to press K, that's transitions, I'm going to go to the transitions menu. And they're primarily for accessibility for individuals who can't use a mouse. So I don't really use them for the menus because I do use a mouse. However, Alt, look at what you get on your quick access toolbar. You've just turned all of your quick access toolbar items into a keyboard shortcut. So for example, if I select this image, and now I do Alt 07, I get my crop handles. I love it. Now, if you, to me, it's really only useful in the single digits. So when I press Alt, once you get to 09, 08, 07, whatever, they're a little harder to remember. So one of the things that you can do is you can rearrange your quick access toolbar so that the first 9 are the ones you're most likely to want a keyboard shortcut for. So if you click your drop down arrow, this is the one that helps you bring it above or below the menu. You can also say more commands. This takes you to a dialog box. And here you can take your items, you can rearrange them. So now crop picture, let's say, is my first one. So now when I do Alt 1, boom, I've got my crop handles. I don't even have to go to any of the menus or buttons to make that happen. So love keyboard shortcuts. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is inserting any number of pre-made media. So icons are very common design theme. And so here I have a roadmap that we used with a customer about some different micro-learning approaches we were going to use at Artisan. And, you know, a lot of people don't have a big budget for images. Well, they're right here. So if I want some games, I can go to insert and then icons, and I'll search for game. And what I really like about their selection is that they're cohesive. And so if you can find everything you want, they're going to be the same line weight. You can either go filled in or not filled in. And so it's a very nice cohesive look. So I could put this game controller here, insert, make it bigger. And then it's the fill color that I would change. So graphics fill white. And then for many of them, they're made up of individual shapes, which means you can adjust them a little bit. So if you right click one of the icons, you can say convert to shape. And depending on what it is, you might be able to group or ungroup. Some let you change more than others. So for example, group, ungroup, convert it first. Yep, see? So now, for example, what if I wanted to make my hammer one color and my axe, I don't even know what that is, another color. So not only do you have this collection of icons, but some of them you can go in and customize if you want to. Or if I just needed that axe and I didn't want that hammer, bye-bye. I have just my axe. So very cool, very flexible tools there with the icons. Next, take a screen capture. Let's see with a show of hands, how many of you have something like Snagit on your computer for screen captures? Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yep. A lot of people do. I barely have a day that goes by that I'm not using Snagit. And that's great. But if you need a screen capture in PowerPoint, you don't have to leave PowerPoint. So let's say I'm doing something on project management and I have this Gantt chart here and I want to include a screen capture of it. Well, I could go to Snagit, do my screen capture, copy it, paste it into PowerPoint. Or right from within PowerPoint, I can go to Insert and then Screenshot. And you have a couple of options. You can either pick any open window that gives you the full window. So if I were to pick Excel, I'd get the full Excel interface as well, and I'd have to crop it down. Or if you do screen clipping, it's going to go to whatever screen you were on last. Wait for a couple seconds. And now I do that. And it pops it right on my slide as big as it makes it nice and centered. Isn't that awesome? It's just right there. Okay, I see some of you are loving it. I love it. I love a good hack. Okay, you can also make simple videos. So you can do it in Snagit, you might have Camtasia, Captivate, Storyline, all of those let you do videos of your screen. But if you want something simple and you don't need to worry a lot about editing it, you can do it right within PowerPoint. So here I'm going to do for us a quick little lesson on Microsoft Excel. So let me get my screen all nice here. Bother me that we can't see that. Okay, so I've got my screen the way I want it. About the same aspect ratio as the slide, roughly. I'll go to Insert, Screen. Now, when I click it, it's going to go back to the screen I was on last. It's going to give me the crosshairs. So I'll select my screen. I can choose to record audio, and that is selected, and it's going to show my pointer. So now I'm going to click record, and I'll do a little lesson, and if I mess up, I'm just going to keep going. And I always have to write down that it's got the craziest keyboard shortcut to end, and I always forget what it is, so I'm going to write it down. Okay, Shift, Windows. Okay. To apply conditional formatting, start by selecting the cells you want to format. I'll select column C. Then on the Home tab, go to the Conditional Formatting drop-down menu and select Highlight Cells Rules. From there, you can pick the type of argument you want. In this case, we want to highlight anything that is at risk. So that means equal to. Then in the field, type in the value you want to match, at risk. And then from the drop-down menu, select a formatting option or set up your own formatting. I'll stick with the default, which is red fill. Then click OK. Now, anything that's at risk is highlighted automatically. And as things change, they get updated automatically as well. It's never really clear if I've stopped. So I hit Windows Shift Q. Like, why couldn't they make an easier one? So now I'm going to go back to PowerPoint. Bam, there's my video. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get my toolbar out of the way. So we're just going to pretend that's not there. And let's see how that looks. Okay. To apply conditional formatting, start by selecting the cells you want to format. I'll select column C. Then on the Home tab, go to the Conditional Formatting drop-down menu and select Highlight Cells. There we go. So now you have a nice little tutorial video that just took a minute or two to do. There's not really much in the way of editing options. So if you really want to, spruce it up and do lots of animations and transitions and zooms, and this probably isn't the right tool for you. But sometimes, you just want to send something to a coworker. Hey, here's how you install the new whiteboard feature in Zoom, and you make a quick movie and send it to them. It's awesome. And by the way, you can right click and save it as a video and use it somewhere else as well. You don't even need to use it in PowerPoint. Oh, look, there you go, Georgette. There's the answer to your question. Okay, so that was tip number 5, record a screen simulation. So now we're going to have some new keyboard shortcuts. As I mentioned, I'm a big keyboard shortcut fan. So here's a few of my favorites. The first one is key, which is shift. So if I want to move this over, I can move it over. But what if I want to move it over and not change the vertical location? If I press shift, you see how it's not moving? It's just staying in that direction. Now I can also go straight up, but it won't be off by a pixel or two. So that's really handy. If I wanted to copy it instead, I would hit Control to make a copy. And then for the real magic, combine them, Shift Control drag, make a copy and keep it lined up. So super fun there. Use that one all the time. One of my absolute favorites, and it worked, by the way, that works in a lot of Windows software, not just PowerPoint and not even just Office. Another one of my favorites is copy paste formatting. So some of you may already be familiar with the Format Painter tool. If you're not, then here's an extra tip for you. So now what I'm about to show you, I would normally do on the master slide, but we're just going to pretend. So let's say that I wanted this one to be bold and this obnoxious green color. Actually, that looks pretty good. And a little bit bigger. Okay. Well, let's say I didn't set up with master slides and now I want to apply it to this. Well, you may already know about Format Painter. So I select this, I select Format Painter, I go over here. There you go. Now the other thing that it won't work again until you go back and get it again, unless you double click. So again, these are still the bonus tips. So let me undo. There we go. Okay. So if I select this and I double click, then I can go here and I can go here and I can do however many slides I want. But the problem is, oh, I found a typo here. Oh, I've got to stop and fix it. So I have to put my tool back, fix my typo, go get my brush again, and keep going. Okay, so it's nice, but you kind of have to do it. It has to be a dedicated task at that time. So now let's say instead, we're going to go to this really obnoxious bright yellow and we decide we don't like the bold. And instead we want to use Arial Round. Okay. So instead here, what I can do is, you know how copy paste is Control C, Control V, add a shift, Control Shift C, Control Shift V. Control Shift V. Now, the reason I like that over Format Painter is, first of all, it's a keyboard shortcut. I don't have to go click on the Format Painter, but now I can stop and I can do something and fix something like, oh, her name is with an I. Okay, great, got it. By the way, Control Shift V. Like, it's still there. Until you go copy new formatting, it'll be there in 10 minutes. Like when we're done with this presentation, I can do Control-Shift-V and that is still saved to my formatting clipboard. So I use that all the time. Okay, that is, oh, and resize font up and down. A lot of people, this is just hidden in plain sight. A lot of folks don't know about this. If I'm just kind of not sure, like, do I want to go smaller or bigger? You have grow and shrink. So let's go down a little bit more. No, let's go back up a little bit more. What it does is it moves by the increments on this menu. So if it's at 66 and you hit down, it's going to go to 60. If you hit 14, it's going to go down to 12. So that's the increment it moves in. Now there's also some really good keyboard shortcuts while you're in presentation mode. So some of my favorites are entering the slide number. So I don't expect you to memorize all your slide numbers, but very often you might have an organizing graphic or a certain concept you're going to revisit over and over again. For example, my handout is on slide 2. To enter. If you know the slide number, you can use that. We'll talk in a minute about how to get back if that's where you were. Some of the others that I really like, I've got one here that's not in your handout that I really like, and that is the ability to zoom in. In fact, let me go back to 2. And let's say I wanted to show you this in more detail. It's not a great resolution image, but if I just press the plus key, I can zoom in on my slide. Negative key, zoom back out. Now it zooms into the middle. So if that's not what you want to see, you do have to drag it to where you want. So that is one advantage of using the tool instead. Let me switch my 2 screens here for a minute. Swap presenter view. So here I am in presenter mode. You have a magnifying glass here as well. So plus and minus go right to the center. If I use the magnifying glass, then I can pick, and you wouldn't know I'm doing this. You can't see this until I click. So I'm about to do that again where you're seeing the student view. So if you want to go to the edge of a slide, probably it is better to use it that way. But I like in presentation mode to be able to use keyboard shortcuts so that I'm not like looking around and they can't tell what I'm doing and it's all super magic. So let me put this back the way it was. Hang on. Come on, there you go. Thank you. Okay, so now I am going to, on my other monitor, I'm going to do that magnifying glass. Let me get my chat out of the way. So here, I am now going to the magnifying glass. You can't tell that I'm positioning my magnifying glass right now. And then we zoom in. So I like being able to zoom, gives me lots of flexibility. If you're, next one is really useful if you need to go off topic for a minute. Press the B key, turns your screen black, so it's not a distraction. That's especially helpful in the physical classroom. B again turns it back to normal. W goes to white. This is especially useful if you're projecting on a whiteboard and now you need to use the whiteboard. You can just project white light. Or if you have a real projector, this is great for making puppet animals, hand shadows. I make a mean Abraham Lincoln hand puppet shadow. So there you go. And then W again puts it back. So those are some of my favorites. There's a few more that are in the handout. And then also if you press F1 while you're in presentation mode, it brings up, I'm sorry, if you do, let me rephrase. If you bring, I was showing you the wrong thing. If you press F1 while you're in presentation mode, it shows you a list of all the keyboard shortcuts that are available. There's a ton of them available in presentation mode. Some of the others I don't use as much anymore because they've made presenter view so much better. So if you haven't made friends with presenter view, like there's so many really great things. Like being able to look at all of your slides and the students have no idea. So if you've ever had, I'm sure this has never happened to anybody, you are running late and you have to skip 3 slides. Well, I pull this up, I go there, you have no idea I just did that. So there's some really nice features that I don't even need the keyboard shortcuts for necessarily anymore. So I'd encourage you to explore all the things you can do in presenter mode. Okay, I'm gonna go back and switch my monitors. so that you're seeing this. Okay, so that was number 6 and number 7. Okay, next we have number 8, change or create a color theme. Okay, use your hand raise icon. Are you forced to use your official company color palette provided by marketing, and they'll come and track you down if you are off by a single shade of blue? Anybody? Yep. Okay, then you're gonna love this tip. So let's say that I am making a shape. And I want to do a shape fill. Well, I have blue, red, green, purple, turquoise, orange. And if I want to do a font, what do I have? Blue, red, green, purple, turquoise, orange. Those aren't any of the colors I want. So there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, this particular piece of smart art was set up with those colors. So this red, this green, so this was used with the palette. Okay, go to the design tab. This has been around forever and they like to move it a lot. So if you're on an older version, it might be in a different place, but it's there. And it's hidden. You go to variants on the design tab, click this little drop down menu and go to colors. And a couple things happen. First of all, you have all of these pre-made color themes. So for those of you who didn't raise your hand and you have choices, you can pick from all these really nice color themes. This is especially great if you don't necessarily have a good sense of color, because people who made these themes, they get color. So you know they match. It's like, if any of you remember Garanimals, you remember those clothes where if you wear a shirt with a tiger and pants with a tiger, you know they match. It's the same thing, you know these colors match. Now that doesn't mean it's the right for your organization or your topic. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily pick this one for a serious topic. So you can do that. And then notice it updates your whole presentation if those colors were picked from the palette. So for example, you see how this one is red. Let me insert another circle. And this one, I'm not using the theme palette red. I'm going to hard code the red. So I'll use one of these, or if I go to more fill colors, or if I use an eyedropper, you're hard coding the red. So now if I go to design, variants, color, you see how the red I hard coded doesn't change? Well, if any of you are consultants or you're a third-party vendor and you work with lots of different clients and every client has a different color theme, well, if you use the color palette instead of hard coding the colors, well, then you can apply a different palette, update the whole presentation with the new color scheme. Or we have one client that has 5 different brands. We do some of their sales enablement training. 5 different brands, each one has their own color palette, and they were never able to reuse content easily because they weren't using the palette. And so they couldn't just update it. Now, for those of you where the marketing department is going to come down on you, here you go. Drop down menu here, colors, customize colors. You can create your own color theme where you can fill in those RGB values that you have on a Post-it note on your monitor. You know you do. There you go. So you can set up your own. So for example, here I have my e-learning uncovered, and I've got 2 versions, one where red is the primary color and one where dark blue is the primary color. So really makes your courses flexible. And then, so let's say I am using my e-learning uncovered palette here. Now, if I insert a shape and I go to the palette, there's my palette. Why would the most obvious colors, why should the most obvious colors be something I don't want? Shouldn't I make them what I want? And same thing, if I now go to font, there they are. And if I go to outline, guess what? There they are. Love it. By the way, it's in Storyline too. Next, number 9, remove an image. Oh, sorry, one more little tip. You're probably familiar with all the different themes and such that come with PowerPoint, and you can download others online. And let's say I like this one, but purple isn't really my vibe. Well, these work with the built-in themes. So if there's one you like, but it's not the right color, you can change it with the theme you want. Okay, now number 9. So I've got this clock, it's fine, nothing wrong with it. But then in a different design, I decide I want it on this dark background. Oh, hate the white background, eeks. Well, I'm going to show you 2 ways to remove a background. One is simpler, but it works in a narrower set of situations. So the simpler one works only if the background is an exactly flat color. No gradation, no gradients, no shadows, nothing. So this fits the bill. And you also need an extremely clear delineation between foreground and background. This one also fits the bill. Select the picture format. This is another tool they hide all the time. This goes back to 2003. They just keep moving it around. So right now it lives, I believe, on the color menu, set transparent color. What I can do is click on one pixel, and whatever that exact color is will be removed from the entire picture. Whoa. Whoa. Isn't that cool? I mean, it's not perfect, but it's awfully nice. Now it removes it from the entire picture. That means it removed it from this little bitty shine right here, and this little bitty shine. You see how I'm seeing the blue behind it? Here's my little hack. It's transparent. So all I have to do is pick a different color to put behind it. So I'll do this. I'll make it white. I'll send it back. Boom, my shine's back. There you go. Now, this picture. I meet the criteria of a very clear delineation between foreground and background, but my background is not a solid color. So what I just showed you will not work. So here you go with the other method. This one's a little bit newer. I think this was like from 2013. Way to go, Kelly. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay. So if you have something a little more complex, go to picture format and go to remove background. What it does is it tries to guess what you want. Look at that. Now, for some reason, it never quite gets it right. I mean, if you can figure out this corner and this corner and this corner, Microsoft, why can't you figure out that corner? Like, seriously? But I can now. Why did it not? It was my option was grayed out. Hang on. What did I do wrong? Remove background. There we go. Okay, now they're here. Mark areas to keep, mark areas to remove. So I can say, can you please remove that little bit? Oh, I'm sorry, I meant keep. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Notice I didn't have to be super precise. It's using edge detection technology to try and figure out what you want. Bam. There you go. Now, what if I wanted that post? See, it makes decisions for you. It may not make the right decisions. Well, I can say mark areas to keep. Oops. Apparently I clicked off of it without realizing it. Mark areas to keep. There you go. Now it doesn't look great. And part of why it doesn't look great is because if I zoom in, it doesn't look great in the photo. So that's actually not Microsoft's fault. That's just not a great photo. So there are times when I've used this and I'm like, oh my gosh, that has saved me so much time. And there are times where I'm like, no, I can get it. I can get it. I can get it. I can get it. And I spend half an hour. And if I had just gone to Photoshop, I could have done it in 5 minutes. So sometimes it still is better go to another tool, but pretty handy. Okay, I'm going to pause, let everybody take a breath. Questions about anything I've shown so far? Okay, next we have autocorrect. If you have common phrases that you're using over and over again. So this is from a course that, that we did years ago with a PowerPoint base. And it was an e-learning course. It was using Articulate Studio, which is a PowerPoint plugin. And so let's say I have click the discuss online button to share your thoughts with others. And we're using that all the time. And so I don't want to type it all the time. So you know what, I just remembered that the last time I did this presentation, I couldn't get this to work. And I said to myself, Diane, figure out why you couldn't get it to work. And I forgot. So I give us a 50-50 shot of this working versus me having egg on my face. Let's see how it goes. So here's how it's supposed to work. I'm copying my text, Control-C, super hidden, File, Options, Proofing, Autocorrect. See what I mean by hidden? Now, what I should be able to do is put in a little code, something I can remember, but something I wouldn't normally type. So for example, discuss online. So DISONL. So that's not something I would normally type, but I could probably remember it. And then I'm going to replace that anytime I type it with, I just put it in there, but I just copied and pasted white text, didn't I? So I think it added, let's see, yep, there it is. Okay, DISONL. Okay, okay. Delete. I really don't know if this is going to work now. Normally, what you do is DISONL, and then you press enter or space or something. And it is not working. Okay. Trust me, it's cool. I will figure it out and I will tell Josh and he can send it out to all of you. I'm gonna make a little note to myself because I've learned the biggest lie I say to myself every day is, oh, I'll remember that. I won't. It's also good in Word. Actually, it really does work in Word. And if you are an Outlook user, Outlook uses Word's dictionary and autocorrect. So if you are always sending, please let me know which times work for you. Thanks so much for getting back to me. You can set up autocorrect for all of those, just have little codes and write emails really fast, if it works. Okay, moving on to something that does work. So Josh, thanks for having me for 24 things you didn't know PowerPoint could do. Okay, number 11, create action buttons. So these next couple are going to help you be more flexible. So the next 5 tips are going to help you be more flexible if you need to change things on the fly. You're running short on time. You have certain information that you only go into if people ask, or I want this available if I have new people in the audience, or I want this available if I have people experienced in the audience, or maybe you're using it for a sales presentation and you don't know yet what the client is going to care about. How can you be more flexible in the moment? So the first one is to create action buttons. So to do this, I'm going to move to a different presentation. Here we go. And so I've got organizing principles. And so I'd like to be able to very quickly navigate to each of these. So what I can do is go to Insert, Shape, and down at the bottom, we have action buttons. And I'm going to pick the blank one. I'm going to draw over this, and it's going to automatically pull this up this dialog box. And I want to hyperlink to, I forget, there we go. Technically, it's the next slide, but I'm going to manually pick it in case I rearrange. There you go. Click OK. I'll give that no fill and no outline. Sorry, no outline. Okay, I'll copy it, paste it, put it over this one, and do the same thing. So now I can right click and edit that link. And this one is going to go to the slide. There it is. Okay. So now when I'm in presentation mode, if I go right here, I go right to that section. Now, what slide was that menu on? Number 1, enter, I go back to it. Click to there, 1, enter, go back to it, go to there, 1, enter, go back to it. So if you're using an organizing graphic for your content, that's a great way to do it. Now, what if I'm in the middle of a slide? Maybe I'm in the middle of a section and I want to come back to this, but I want to return not to one of these, but the actual slide I was on. So one of the things I can do here, if I go to Insert, Shapes, you have several that are pre-programmed, and one of them is return to the last slide visited. And then you can make it as small as you want, as subtle. You can make it completely invisible so only you know it's there if you want to. So let's say now I'm on random slide. Where should I go? Let's go to, and don't worry, some of these are non-examples and that's why they're so ugly. I'm gonna go to this really awful slide here. So let's say I'm in this, slide right here. Somebody has a question and I wanna go back to 1. How do I get back to that random slide I was on? I just click this button and I'm right back. Those are nice to put potentially on the master slide too, the action buttons. So for example, I might go to my master slide and let's say this wasn't slide number 1, but slide number 7, and it's harder to remember, is you can also insert a home button. So on my master slide, I might go to this, the home button, and then pick whichever one I want to count as my home button. And that way, any slide I'm on, I can just jump right back to my menu or whatever it is I want. So big fan of action buttons. And again, you can make them very small, very subtle, very light. So for example, I can go to more fill colors and make that mostly transparent so that you barely see it. Same thing with my outline, mostly transparent. So I know it's there, but it's not going to be super obvious to the student. Okay, love those. That's action buttons. Okay, sections. If you don't use sections, it is time, especially if you have longer presentations. So this clearly has 7 sections. So and let me go briefly to slide sorter view. There are all of my slides. Now, fortunately, I have something that's pretty visually distinct, so I can quickly find my sections, but that may not always be the case. So what I can do, you can do this from slide sorter view or edit mode. I'll do it here because it's a little clearer what's happening. I'll pick this one, section, add section, 1 hook. Section, add section, 2 context. See what it's doing? It's basically putting in hard returns. Do one more. 3 star. Okay, now let me go to a version of this where they're all set up. It's like the cooking show. My onions are magically chopped and my meat is already browned. Okay, so see how I have all of my sections here. Just that alone, I think is helpful. But what are some of the things you can do, especially if you've got a long presentation? You know, if you've got a half day or a full day and it's all in one document, you're probably scrolling around trying to find what you want madly. Well, for one thing, you can expand and collapse sections. Here, I just have them numbered. I didn't put the words. The words would be more helpful. You can also right click and expand all, collapse all. So if I'm just working on one section, why be bothered with the others? So that's super helpful right there. The same thing is true in edit mode. So here in the thumbnail, you've probably done that before where you're like just constantly, where's my slide? Where's my slide? Where's my slide? You're scrolling back and forth, expand and collapse. But then I especially like it in presenter view. So once again, I'm going to switch my 2 screens so you can see my presenter mode. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Okay, so here's my presenter mode. And one of the things that I can do is show myself all of the slides to switch around. I showed you this view a minute ago. It's organized in sections. So in the moment, I can move much more quickly. And look, I get a section table of contents right here. So you've got this awesome table of contents that lets you jump right to the section you want. And the students have no idea that I'm doing this right now. So love, love, love sections. Okay. Now, if you have sections, you can also create some fun, something fun called a summary zoom. Let me go back and just put all of mine back, expand all. Okay, so this is really cool. What I'm going to do, it's easier to show it than explain it. So insert, zoom, summary zoom, section zoom, slide zoom. They're all a little bit different. I'm going to show you summary zoom. What it's going to do is if I have sections, it's going to pre-populate the first slide from each of my sections. See how they're pre-selected? However, I can deselect and select whatever I want. I click insert. And what it does is it adds a new slide with the thumbnail of each one. So that's pretty cool as a summary, right? And I can make this bigger if I want. I can make the whole thing bigger, and I can make each individual graphic bigger. So, you know, I'm not limited to that size. So that right there is cool. I can just do this, and there's my summary. But check this out. It's all hyperlinked. And then I do back arrow. Remember we talked about this? La la la, back arrow. We talked about this. Oh, you want to go in that section? Okay, right arrow. I'm in the section. Like, so cool. Now, something I just learned like 3 weeks ago. Not in your handout. It's kind of similar. New slide, blank slide. Check this out. Let me just pick this little guy. Look, you can put an image of a slide on a slide by just dragging it, and guess what? It zooms to that section, and now if I back arrow, I go back to it. But if I forward arrow, I pick up to that point of the presentation. Like, how cool is that? And once again, you could make this as, you know, if you just want this to be like a little tip, like I'm using I'm teaching a flow chart. I just take that flow chart, I drag it here, I make it really small down at the bottom. And if somebody has a question about the flow chart, oh, let me pull up that flow chart for you. And they will think you are magic. I love it. It makes me so happy. Okay. That was number 13. Summary Zoom. The next one is also a flexibility tip around video. So go back to my original presentation. Here I have a video on 4 different types of responsive design. Doesn't matter what it is.
Diane Elkins from eLearning Uncovered.
I'm actually going to mute it. And so I'm teaching 4 different ways that you might approach accessibility or responsive design in e-learning. So here's the first one. And then I can jump ahead to the second one. And here's the third one. And here's the fourth one. And let's say I get a lot of questions about this, or I just want to riff. And I go, well, let me go back to the second one. Wait, where's the second one? There, wait. There, yeah, there we go. There's the beginning of the second one. Well, that's annoying, right? So you can add bookmarks. So here I am, and I use this method here to say, okay, that's the beginning of the first one. So on the playback tab with the video selected, I can add a bookmark. And now I go to the second one. And I suppose you don't need to watch me get it exact, but you know, I can't help myself sometimes. So let's say that's the second one. And let's say that's the beginning of the third one. Now you can't name them, I wish you could, but now when I'm in presentation mode, I'm playing the video, we're now at the end of it, and someone says, hey, number 2. Oh, number 2, let me go back. So you click, zoom, you just click the dot and it goes right to that place for you. So that's how that works. Okay, the next one in our little string of flexibility is how to trigger an animation other than the standard animation. So let's say, for example, I want to have an animation to have this show up, and I can have it fade in. Okay, so here we go. I click, it fades in. But what if I only want to show it if there's a question? What if I only want to show it to certain audiences? What if this is a sales presentation and I really don't know what you're going to have a question about? So you don't have to rely on just that linear format, because that's one of the frustrations with PowerPoint. If you don't use some of these techniques, is it's so linear and you lose the ability to be flexible. So I'm going to remove this animation. Actually, no, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to bring up my animation pane. So by default, it's just going to happen on click. But I have this really cool thing here called trigger. I can say on click of and pick any object on my slide. Now, what's graphic 3? What's graphic 10? What's graphic 2? That's not helpful. So I'm going to jump ahead to number 22. So we're going to do a quick fast forward to 22. And that is the selection pane. If you go to the Home tab, select selection pane. Shows all the objects on the slide, including all of your groups and all of that. So this is also what you see if you've ever used the animations pane. So if I go to the animations pane, it says picture 6. And have any of you ever been frustrated by that? You're trying to figure out some complex animations, but it says text box 1, text box 2, shape 3, shape 7, like so not helpful. Well, a couple of things. First of all, here's my screen capture. I can rename it. So I'm going to call this branching capture. Now that's what's going to show up in the animations pane. Branching capture, way more helpful, right? The other thing that you can do is, let's say I want to change the text under here. Have you ever done this? Oh, I've got to move this out of the way, change my text, put it back. Have you done that? Well, see this little eyeball icon? I just get it out of my way, make my change, put it back. Just realize that if you have the eyeball hidden, it will not show in presentation mode. So if you take it away, be sure to put it back. Also, this is relatively new, the lock icon. So if you're constantly accidentally moving something, lock it in place. I can't move it. I can't select it. I can't move it. Actually, I can select it. I just can't move it. So that's pretty new. Okay, so now I have my branching capture and I want this icon to launch it. So I'm going to rename that. I'm going to call that the branching icon. So I haven't named everything, but I've named my branching capture and my branching icon. So the selection pane, again, that was on the Home tab. Select selection pane is how you show it. So now that I have that, and I'll close my selection pane now. So now remember, I've already added my fade and it's set to on click. But instead I can say trigger on click of my branching icon. So now if I am in this presentation and I don't want that screen capture, I just use my right arrow and move on. Skipped it completely. But if I click this, oops, I just hit my my wheel, the wheel on my mouse. So let me, that made it a little anticlimactic, didn't it? If I click this, there's my screen capture. So I have total control. Now that also means I need to hide it. So what I do then, and I always have to think about this one so I don't get it backwards. Select my image, add fade exit, and I'll base its trigger on clicking itself, my capture. So now I have appear based on clicking my icon, disappear by clicking the capture. So let's try it out. Click my icon, click my capture. So I can do that for each one of these and just show or hide whatever I feel like in the moment and not having to do that annoying, oh, let me quick arrow through these things. Please don't look, please don't look, please don't look. You've all done that, right? Yeah, I feel you. Okay, fun stuff. Okay, let me pause for just a minute before we go to the next page. Questions? That means we're ready for number 16.
No questions,
Yep.
but I just want to reaffirm what's in chat, that everyone will be getting a recording of this to go back and follow along and practice
Mhm.
along. And they're all saying this is a religious experience. So thanks, Diane.
Absolutely. Okay, And we're only on number 16, although we already did 22, so we're kind of on 17, but we're on 16. Okay, cutouts. So we're going to move to some graphic design tips now. Fit on the slide. So here we have this firefighter. We're dealing with some training on some personal protective gear, and I want to emphasize this respirator thingy. So I'll do no fill, and I'll do a nice red outline, and I'll make it a little bit bolder. Okay, whatever. But what if I wanted more of a spotlight effect, something a little bit more dramatic? We just happen to have hiding here off to the side a semi-transparent black box. Okay, so I have a black semi-transparent box and a red circle, and I want to punch the circle out of that box so that it's full strength. So this is a feature called merge shapes, and it matters which one you select first, and I can never remember, so I always have to try it both ways until I get it right. So I'm going to select the red circle first, control the black shaded box. On the Format tab, I go to Merge Shapes, and I have a couple of choices, and you don't have to pay attention to what they are, because if you roll over, nope, don't want that, nope, 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 nope. Okay, what that means is that I need to click the background first, then the red circle, oops, background, red circle, shape format, merge, nope. Ah, there we go. It cut it right out. This is now a single shape. Like it's not ungroup, you can't ungroup it, it's not a group, it's a single shape with this little cutout. So you can punch one shape out of another for any number of reasons. You can also join. So let's say I need a puzzle piece. And again, I don't have a graphics budget. I don't have a graphic designer. Well, most things in the world are just a combination of shapes if you get the right shapes. So here I have a shape here and a shape here and a shape here, but I want to cut out, because puzzles have pieces cut out as well. So I'll take this, Control C, Control V. There we go. Now I'm going to guess that I'm going to select my background first and then my circle. Don't know. That's okay. It's easy to recover. Shape format, merge shapes. Nope. 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 Really nope. There we go. Subtract. Now this is still a separate object. This is still a separate object. That is not. So that's one disadvantage is I can do a quick undo, but like in a week, I can't change that. But now what about these two? Because let's say, for example, I group these. Good. So now I have one object. They're grouped. But what if I want a nice, bright, strong red outline? I don't want these to be outlined individually. Well, here's what I'll do. I need to ungroup it first. Select, Control, select, select. Shape format, merge, combine, no, union. There you go. Now this is one object. I can't ungroup it. It's a true single object. I can also give it now a nice drop shadow, because again, if these were grouped items, each one would get its own drop shadow separately from the others, and it wouldn't look quite right. So if you consider that most of the world is made up of random shapes you can draw in PowerPoint, it really gives you a lot of different tools for creating icons, graphics, whatever. So a lot of cool stuff. So that was number 16. Number 17, draw with Bezier tools. So if any of you have ever used Adobe Illustrator, Bezier is one of the tools that lets you draw. And PowerPoint has had it at least since 2003. And that's the old version before they had ribbons, but it's super hidden. So what is a Bezier tool? And why do you care? So let's say that you need some kind of gamification. You went to Monica Cornetti's gamification certification and you want some kind of badge. Okay, insert shape. I don't really like, I would need a shield or a badge or something. I don't really have one, but then I go, well, I don't have a badge per se, but can I get a little bit close? For example, this one right here. And by the way, if you've never noticed this little yellow dot, always look for it when you draw a shape because it lets you configure the shape in some way. Now I'm not changing the size, I'm changing how the shape is how it looks. Okay, so the top of that kind of looks like a shield or a badge, but the bottom doesn't. Okay, shape format. Edit shape, edit points. What it now does is it makes every single point editable. So I can move this around. If I press Control, see how it's an X? Delete, delete, delete. Move this point here, and then these drag handles adjust the curve. There we go. I just made a shield. Now I just add some nice effects, like maybe I'll do a nice beveled edge, and I'll go into Format Shape, and I will make that edge, let's see, where is it? Nice and big. There we go. I've got a shield. Now I'll be honest, I made that look easier than it is. But if you have, especially if you've used Illustrator or you've used this tool before, it's great to know it's here. Like I started using Adobe Illustrator in 1992. So I've used it a lot. But for most of my recent professional career, I just haven't had a license. And so I know how to use the tools. I just didn't have the tools. Well, they're right there in PowerPoint. If you've never used them before, they're going to take some getting used to. It's a skill like many others. Here's another example. Let's say I just want a circle. And I want at Artisan, we have quarterly projects called rocks. And so I want to have a rock for my update. And so I'll go to Shape Fill. And there's a texture that kind of looks like a rock. And I'll go in and I'll give it a little bevel. Let's see if I can make that look a little convincing. There you go, give it a little shape. Like a gray outline, there we go. It's got a rock, but rocks aren't perfectly round. It's more like a pebble. Edit shape. Edit points. Now I can just kind of fudge with it a little bit, just kind of, well, now it looks like an egg, just kind of, okay, well, that looks a little bit more like, more rock-like. So this tool does have the disadvantage that, to a certain extent, you have to have some drawing skill to make it work. But if you have the skill and you're willing to put in the time to figure out how the tool works, it's really cool. So for example, on the side, I dabble in children's book writing, and I have a book about animals trading places. So this is a camel who wants to be a turtle, and this was drawn 100% using that feature in PowerPoint. So I don't believe this is not the live version, but like that kneecap, I just showed you how to make that kneecap, right? So the next time you need a turtle camel kneecap, you know how to make a turtle camel. I mean, who came here tonight believing that they would leave with that skill? Yeah, it's amazing. Okay.
Diane, real quick, I'm
yes.
so sorry. Just wanted to validate. In the very beginning, you mentioned most of these tools and tricks you're sharing with us are applicable in Mac. Can you confirm that? Is that true?
Most.
Okay.
I'm not a Mac user. I have a coworker who is, and every now and then I show her something and she's like, I can't find it in Mac, but most of them would be available in Mac.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. You bet. Next is save objects or slide as a picture. So let's say I want to use this somewhere else, this shield somewhere else. Let's say I want to use it in Storyline. Right click, save as picture. And look, I already have the shield and a puzzle and a rock. Clearly, I've done this a few times before. So you can save it and then use it anywhere. You can also save whole slides. So for example, this one, or maybe I want to put this one out on social media to promote my program. So if you want to save the whole slide as a picture, I mean, yeah, you can use Snagit and make a screen capture, or you can do File, Save As, and then under More Options, you can say Save As, and then you can do JPEG or PNG or whatever. I'll do JPEG, and then I will save. And then when it's going to ask, I've done this before too, it's going to ask, do you want just the one slide or all the slides? So I just want this one. So I just saved that as an image. And that can be handy sometimes too, based on what you're doing. Okay, that was number 18. Oh, thanks, Bobby. And if you're interested, shameless plug, it's called If I Were a Cow by Diane Wright. I used my maiden name for it. Available on Amazon. Next, change picture. So here I have a pretty complicated slide. And if I preview it, here we go. So I've got quite a few images. I've got quite a few text boxes. And then the client comes in and says, oh, that picture is a little too bright. Can you give us something that's a little more like everything else that we've seen? Okay, well, it's hidden, right? So if nothing else, you can go in to select selection pane, hide all these, see how they're already named. So I can hide all of the others, and that's great. So let's hide all, and then I want my time right there. That's great. But if I delete that picture and put a new one in, well, I've got to change my rotation, change my edges, get my drop shadow, put it in the right place, make it the right size, apply the right animation. I mean, think of how many things I would have to do to replace this image. Unless I just do this, right click, change picture. Pick from your file, or I love, this is relatively new, from clipboard. So like if you've done something in Snagit, just copy it and then just paste it right here. You don't even have to save it first, which I love. So I can change a picture from this device, and let's see, pictures. There we go. Insert, ta-da. Everything else is still set up. Any animations, any effects. The size might be a little different if it's a different aspect ratio. So if this is a little bit skinnier or longer or something, then you might need to adjust it. So change picture, it'll be a big time saver. Show all. Okay, that was number 19. Number 20, apply artistic filters to images. So let's say you want to use both of these images in a presentation, but they don't, like there's such a different style. Well, one of the things you can do is apply some artistic effects for some cohesiveness in your design. So here I have my image. I go to picture format, artistic effects, and then most of them just don't. I mean, some of them are just a little crazy. Actually, that one doesn't look too bad. But one of the ones I like is pencil sketch. And then with any of these, once you're here, do right click format picture and picture. No, not picture. Where is it? Bill, come on, where is it? There it is. It's here under your other effects. It just added this because I added an artistic effect. You have options. So for example, and you don't even have to know what they are, just it'll preview automatically. So for example, I can have it look more abstract. I could also have it look more realistic. I can also change how much of the original image comes through. So if I have too much of the image come through, I can't tell it's a pencil sketch, but now I can go a little bit sketchier here. So between these two, I can really change the effect quite a bit. And now I can take this, and I think Format Painter works on this one. Apparently not. Okay, so picture format, go back to artistic effects, back to pencil sketch. And then under artistic effects, that doesn't seem like the same effect. Hang on. Maybe I didn't pick pencil sketch. I must have picked that one. So there we go. And I want to match it up here. I want to bring in a little color, match it. There we go. Now these look like they totally belong together. Now I'd be careful. I wouldn't do your whole presentation with artistic effects. Somebody will say, hey, she must have just gone to a class and learned some new things, and that's all she's doing now. So, but especially for like opening, closing, transition slide, it's a really nice treatment to give yourself a little something new and different. Okay, number 21, save default shape text box. This is a time saver. So let's say you're doing a course or something that, by the way, this tip works in Storyline as well, and you're using this light blue semi-transparent a lot. And so, sure, I can go find one somewhere else and copy and paste it, or I can do copy formatting. But if I just insert a shape, you know, I'm going to now have to do something. But if this is the shape I want more than anything, shouldn't that be my default? So let me delete this. Remember, this is what happened a minute ago when I just did insert shape. Delete. Right click and set as default shape. Insert shape, and it works for any shape. There we go. So if there's one thing you need more than anything else, why not set it as your default shape? And you can change it as you go. So maybe it's just what you need right now. And then later you need to go in and cover up a bunch of things with white boxes. Well, then make that your default shape. You can have a default text box, a default shape. And if you're a Storyline user, it works in Storyline as well. You can have a default button, all kinds of good stuff. Okay, we already did number 2, which was your selection pane right here. Love the selection pane, one of my favorite features. So that brings us to number 23, change the shape of a smart art element. I still remember in 2007 when smart art came out, and it was awesome. It was like the coolest thing that any of us have ever seen. And now we're like over it, right? We're like, oh, smart art. Well, one of the things you can do is you can customize the shapes. So for example, if these are sales superstars, first of all, that's not enough color contrast because I messed with the slide earlier. I'll let that go for now. Here we go. I've got my shape. I can go to format, change shape. So if these are superstars, why not make them actual stars? Let's use a 5-pointer. There we go. And then I might need to make it a little bit bigger and adjust it some. Or let's say I really like Nigel a lot. There we go. And I can pull this out. I mean, so you can have a lot of flexibility with the built-in smart art just by changing some of the shapes to give it a more custom look. Okay, that was number 23. We're coming close. Number 24. And that is to copy animations from one to another. I already showed you how you could right click and change picture. But what if the client said, oh, there's one more point we need to make. So I need to add a new picture. So insert picture, we want this picture of files. There we go. So I can use my formatting, my format painter that I showed you earlier, or my Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V to copy over the formatting. So let me select this one, Control-Shift-C, select Control-Shift-V. So it gave me my rotation, my edges, my reflection. But I had some pretty funky animations, and it took me quite a while to get those just right. What's the right speed? What's all of that? I don't have to redo that. Well, you can copy and paste animations. So if I select the item with the animations I want, on the Animations tab, I can go to Animation Painter and paint the animations onto this one. There we go. Now I'll still have to go in the Animations tab and line it up in the right place because maybe it should be the third one instead of the last one, but I don't have to set them up from scratch. So that one's fun too. Okay, that brings us to number 25. And 25 is more conceptual. It's about the fact that we can do a lot instructionally with animations. It's not about making things spin and grow and fly. If that's why you're doing it because you think it's cool to have things fly in, yes, in 1997, that was the height of fashion and sophistication. Okay, we don't need to know that you know how to do spin and grow. But animations can be really, really valuable for learning depending upon the situation. Remember that ugly slide I showed you earlier, where was it? And this is from the American Red Cross, and they have given me permission to show this and kind of openly mock it. The individual who put this presentation together, this was a 3-hour webinar on how to fill out a form. Just let that sink in. And this is what the slides look like. And they knew it was wrong. So the guy who did this, he was a very smart man. He was passionate about how data can help the Red Cross serve more people, like just all the good things. And he knew this wasn't the right approach. He just didn't know what it was. So this was one of their big performance problems about filling out this form, is people were getting the timing wrong. It was an important form. I mean, imagine like a hurricane comes through the Gulf Coast and there's 6 states affected. And they have to record every meal, every shelter visitor, everything in every shelter, in every county, in every state, and map it all up, wrap it all up by 11 o'clock that night. And by the way, they may not have phone or internet or power. And by the way, nobody was doing this 2 days ago. And by the way, most of them are volunteers. So it's an important form. And this is how, they were trying to make it clearer. Well, animations can help make things clearer. It's not about pretty as much as it is about being helpful. So instead, let's see, I think this is the one. This has all the animations in it. So the form 5266 is filled out every day. But what does a day mean? A day is from 5 p.m. to 5 p.m. So if you feed somebody at 4:45, they are included on that day's form. But if you feed somebody at 6 o'clock, they are not included in that day's form. And you can submit that form every day by 11:59. It's clearer. So there's nothing special about this slide. This calendar was a PowerPoint template. These are shapes, little icons, and everything is either a fade or a wipe. Now, granted, there's a lot of them. So did it take me a while to make that slide? Yes. But was that slide working? No. And I tell you what, this is the easy slide to build. This is the easiest slide to build. Well, if it's not adding value, don't build it. A lot of people say, how do I have time to make better slides? Well, you have time to make better slides by not making the ones that don't help. And so if your hour-long presentation only has 7 slides that are helpful, that's better than having 50 that aren't helpful. So spend your time there. Find your performance problems first. Where are people getting things wrong? Where is what you're currently doing not working? Spend all your time on that if you need to. Okay, just a couple of other examples. So let's say that we want to talk about how to simplify long sentences. Well, the rule is identify the point of your sentence, remove unnecessary details, keep relevant supporting information, and reorganize what's left. So I could have a slide very quickly with 4 bullets, or I could have this. This is a grammatically correct sentence. It's not a good sentence. Grammatically correct. So let's run it through the process. Number 1, identify the point of the sentence. Is the project about the ACF? Is it about the ACF project? Is it about the program director? Is it about the portfolio manager? Is it about the length of the meeting? Well, let's say that the point of the sentence is that the program director met with the portfolio manager for 2 hours. Great. Okay. Now what we do is we get rid of the unnecessary information. We keep relevant supporting information and we reorganize what's left. Okay, did that slide take me 3 hours to build? Yes, it did. But is what you're doing helpful? And if it's not, I think we need to question why we're doing it and what could we do instead? Put most emphasis on the things that people are most likely to misunderstand. Because you probably don't have time to spend 3 hours on every slide, but what are those few? So that is 24, because one of them didn't work. 24 things you didn't know PowerPoint could do. Okay, I've got a couple of minutes for some questions.
25, you mean 24 things? Yes, sorry, for the history of the world fans out there. Yeah, so if anybody has a question, since there's a bunch of us, I think I saw a hand raised for a second, unless that was a clapping hand. We're obviously at the time we had scheduled for this, but Diane's willing to stick around for a little bit, so if anybody needs to go, feel free. Otherwise, if anybody has a question, why don't you hit the hand raise thing, put it in chat, whatever works. Or you're all just kind of still absorbing this. While you think about a question, I will tell you that I mentioned I'd seen this. I think this is at least the third time I've seen Diane present this, and the transparent background changed my life. I hate white outlines on things when I see them in slides, and now that I know how to do that, I'm like, why did they do that? So this also empowers you to be slightly judgmental.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, but a lot of good stuff here. Because the last time we did this, it was in person. I still have the printed version of the handout in my office and grab it occasionally as a reference source.
Great.
So I highly recommend saving that. As soon as it'll be linked again in the email we send out with the recording, it'll be in the members part of the website with the recording. So if you lose the file and a couple of months from now you want to come back, as long as you're a member, you get to see it. But Diane, fantastic as always. Lots of good stuff. Yeah, if you're sitting here saying I can't absorb all that in this time, yeah, you're welcome to the club. That's why you have the handout and the recording. So do we have any other questions, or are we still just all in stunned silence?
Yes, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, the question is, I like the recording, little information that you shared, but since it's limited and you can't do too much editing, is it advisable to record in another format and insert that into the PowerPoint?
Great question. So in terms of the screen capture that the little video I made, let me go back to that one. This one where I made this quick video. It really depends on what your needs are. If it's short and I messed up, for example, I messed up. So this is no good. Now, if I had editing software, I could just shave off the first 3 seconds because it went away. But how long did it take me to record that? You know, like 3 minutes. So if I'm using this method and I know I'm not going to be able to edit it, I assume it's going to take me 4 or 5 takes. But if I'm doing a video that's going to be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, the likelihood of me getting it right is pretty slim. I'm likely to go to another tool. A lot also depends on how formal does it have to be. If I'm just, sending something to a coworker, and it's okay if I say and it's okay if I say and if I go click insert, no, I mean draw, and nobody cares, then yeah, do it this way. But if you want polished, perfect, zoomed, annotated, captioned, call outs, then yeah, I would go to Camtasia for that.
Another one of our lovely
thank you.
sponsors. Bless you. Any others?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
I'm so glad.
Absolutely wonderful.
Do I know what your day is going to look like tomorrow?
Thank you.
You're going to be playing with all of them.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad it was helpful.
Well, let me do this. I'm going to stop the recording here. So for those who are watching on the recording, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.